Hi everyone, this is Heather. Thanks so much for joining me. Today I've got a card tutorial for you and we're going to be making this fun little frog sitting on a lily pad. I wanted to make a kind of a one-layer card with an ombre background, so I'm going to show you how to do that with alcohol-based markers. Over on the Lawn Fanatics blog, the challenge currently is to make a card with tiny images. So I'm using the Lawn Fawn set Totally Awesome, and I'm using some of the smallest little stamps that come in this set. It's got some really cute frogs or toads, really great words, and some really fun elements to set a scene. My cardstock base is green, and it is a 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock, cut, scored, folded in half, but I cut it lengthwise because I wanted a top fold card. I also have a piece of pink cardstock cut to 4 1/4 by 3 3/4. Piece of 110-pound white that's cut to 4 by 3 1/2, and then another little square of white. On this card I wanted to do some masking, so I've gone ahead and taken a small piece of masking magic paper, and using some black StazOn ink I have stamped out the tiniest little ones of the frogs and also one of the little lilies. And I have just used my scissors and cut them out, getting as close to the edge as I can. I've also taken a 2.5 inch circle die and cut out a circle. So I've pulled over a scrap piece of paper and my white cardstock, and I've got some black memento ink. And the first thing that I want to stamp is my little frog. So just about 1/3 of the height of my cardstock, I've stamped out my little frog. I'm going to remove the backing paper off of the little mask that I created and place that over my frog. And I really just want to make sure that just his feet are masked off nicely. I'm going to take the lily pad stamp and I'm going to stamp that over my frog mask so that it looks like he is sitting on the lily pad. Now I'm going to carefully remove my mask, and now it looks like he's on the lily pad. I like to make sure that I wipe my masks off. I just have a little paper towel here just to make sure that when handling them I don't get a lot of ink transferred onto my cardstock or my fingers. And be sure to hang on to your masks and place them back on the paper. I like to just slide them inside the packaging for my stamp so I have them next time I'm ready to use them. Now moving on to the water lily flower, I'm going to stamp one off to the left and one off to the right and one kind of down towards the center bottom. I've removed the masking backing paper. I'm going to place that mask over the flower. I'm going to go back to my lily pad and I'm going to do the same thing that I did with my frog and just kind of overlap that lily pad with the flower so that it looks like they are one stamp. So I'm going to do that to my other two flowers as well. Now I want to add a few little bugs flying around. So I'm just going to stamp 3 of those around my scene. And here's my finished stamped scene. To color my images, I'm using Spectrum Noir alcohol-based markers. I'm going to start off with my frog. I've got this CG1, and I'm going to completely color in my frog with that lightest green color. Next, moving on to CG2, I'm going to add a little bit of shading and shadowing around my frog. I'm going to go back to the lighter color, kind of blend those in, just kind of towards the center of the frog, kind of pulling that color in towards the middle. And now moving on to DG2, I'm going to add even more shading and shadowing on my little frog. I'm going to go back to that lightest green and just blend all those in together. With my frog finished, I'm going to move on to my lily pads, and I'm using CG4 And I'm just gonna completely color in those lily pads. Next, with DG3, I'm gonna add just a little bit of shading and shadowing on those lily pads. Using CG4, I'm gonna kind of blend those colors together. And now with CG1, I'm gonna go in and kind of use it almost like a blender pen and sort of lift away some of those sections to make them a little bit lighter. It's kind of hard to see at first because it takes a second for that alcohol to react, but eventually it'll sort of lift some of that color up and help with your shading. For the wings of my bugs, I'm going to color those in with CT2. While I'm doing my bugs, I'm going to go ahead and grab this extra little piece of white cardstock. I'm going to stamp one more bug and color it in with the same yellow. Next, I'm going to move on to one of the tri-blend markers from Spectrum Noir. These are really great if you kind of have trouble sort of picking colors to blend that will work together. These come in a light, medium, and dark of the same shade. So this is called Fair Skin Blend, and this is FS6, FS7, and FS8. So for my lily pads, for my lily pad flowers, I'm going to use the lightest color and completely fill them in. Moving on to the medium. From the center, I'm just going to go out and add a little bit of the darker medium pink. And then just towards the center with the darker pink. So here's all my images finished coloring, and now I'm ready to color in my background. So I'm going to bring over a scrap piece of paper, and I'm going over to another tri-blend marker, and this is called Jade Green, and this is JG1, JG2, and JG3. So in order to do my ombre, I'm going to start off with the lighter color at the top, move down to the middle color, and then down to the darker color. I wanted to add this nice little moon up here to give it more of a nighttime scene. So I'm taking my mask, the circle that I die cut earlier, I'm going to place that in the upper right hand corner of my scene and press that down. I'm going back to the CT2 that I did the bug's wings, and I'm going to use the wide end of the marker, and I'm just going to fill that corner of my cardstock in with this marker, just kind of using the mask to give me that nice round edge. And now I can just remove my mask. Just to make sure that I don't accidentally color over that yellow and I want to keep that nice round edge, I'm going to take the circle that I die cut out of the masking magic. I'm going to place that over my yellow moon. I'm a lefty, so I'm tilting my paper kind of off to one side. If you're right-handed, you'll probably tilt it to the other side. I'm going to take the darker of the shades of jade, and I'm going to kind of make sort of an imaginary horizon right along where my frog is sitting on his lily pad. Then I like to trace around each of my images. It just kind of helps give me a little bit of a barrier when I'm coloring so that I don't accidentally go in and color over what I've already colored in. So just carefully take the tip of your marker and trace around these lower images with the dark. With my tracing done, now I'm simply just going to fill everything in with the marker. So if you're going to do a background like this, you want to make sure that you have a nice juicy marker, either a brand new marker, or make sure that you've got the refill for it so that you don't run out of ink, because this will use up a lot of your marker. But I think the look is really cool, so it's kind of worth it. So I'm just going to go around, especially carefully around my images all the way to the edge, and I'm just going to fill in this entire lower section with the dark jade. I I finished coloring in my darker section. And again, I'm just going to kind of draw an imaginary line with this middle color across my card. Again, I'm going to go around my little bugs. And now I'm ready to color in this center section. I don't want to overlap the light and the medium colors too much. Just gonna want to come up to the edge, maybe down just a little bit, because you don't want too dark of a line where those overlap. And then same as I did on the bottom, I'm just gonna fill this entire section in with the medium jade. With that middle section colored, I'm going on to the lighter color, and I'm just gonna finish filling in the rest of my card. And a couple of tips, if you have a hard time kind of getting a straight line, you could use a ruler to draw your little midsections in. Also, you don't want to color over the same section too many times, because that could make some sections a little bit darker than others. And you will get, at least with these markers, I found a little bit of texture. You can see the lines a little bit of where you've drawn. With sky and water, I don't mind that too much, but do be aware that it's not really going to be a solid block of color. I finished coloring with my markers. I'm going to remove my mask, and I did want to show you, if you do accidentally get some of the darker color on top of where it's lighter, you can go in with one of the lighter colors and sort of go over that, and again, sort of like a blender pen, it'll kind of move some of that dark color out and go back to the lighter color. So you could still fix it if you've made any mistakes. With my background colored in, I'm going to stamp out the "Have a Happy Birthday" words. One of the things that I really like about a lot of Lawn Fawn sets is that they've got their sentiments in sections. So if you wanted to make a long section, you could, if you wanted to stack them or move them around. So I really like that. So I've stamped the "Have a Happy Birthday." Using tape runner, I'm going to adhere this panel to my pink. I've added some foam squares to the back of my panel, and I'm going to place that high on my card. I'm going to go back to my black Memento ink, and I'm going to stamp this little bug trail. I've cut out my little bug with my scissors. I've added a little piece of foam tape to the back. And lastly, I wanted to add just a little bit of shimmer to the wings of my bugs. So I'm going to be taking a clear Star Writer jelly roll and just fill those in. And here is our finished card. I think this is a really fun way with masking and with alcohol markers to be able to create a fun scene without a lot of layers on it. It's also a really great way to create a scene if you don't have the dies or you don't want to cut out the images. You can still stamp them out and have a fun background. So I hope you enjoyed this card tutorial. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Be sure to check out my channel and consider subscribing. I have lots of other card tutorials and videos for you to check out. And I hope you have a very happy day. This is Heather. Bye.